My parents abused me. I ran away at 18, built a successful life, and now they want me to pay them back. I, 28F, grew up in a house that, on the outside, looked perfectly normal. We weren't poor, we lived in a decent neighborhood, and my parents were respected in our community. But once the front door shut, it was hell. My dad had a temper that could ignite over nothing. I remember once spilling a glass of milk at dinner, and he screamed so loudly my ears rang. He didn't just yell, he'd get in my face, veins bulging, spit flying, telling me I was pathetic and a waste of space. If he was really mad, dinner was taken away. Sometimes it was worse than that. My mom wasn't a protector. She was his partner in cruelty. If he was tired, she'd take over the screaming. If he punished me, she'd say I deserved it. I never heard a kind word from either of them. They constantly drilled into me that I was nothing without them. If I got an A on a test, my dad would say, probably a mistake. If I talked about wanting to go to college, my mom would laugh and say, with what brains? You drop out in a week. Friends weren't allowed. Jobs I got as a teen had my paycheck confiscated for rent. By the time I was 16, I truly believed maybe they were right, that I was worthless, stupid, and destined to fail. But deep down, a little spark kept whispering, you need to get out. That spark became my survival plan. I started saving every dollar I could. I secretly tutored kids after school, math, English, whatever they needed. I hid the money in an old shoebox behind my dresser. I kept a running total in a little notebook, written in code so my mom couldn't understand it if she snooped. The night before my 18th birthday, I made my decision. I packed a backpack with only the essentials: 2 changes of clothes, a toothbrush, my high school diploma, and my shoebox of money. About $600 total. I left my phone behind because I knew they'd track it. That night, when they were asleep, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would wake them. I opened the window in my room, climbed out, and walked down the street with nothing but that bag. I didn't look back. I went to a friend's house. Her family was kind enough to let me crash on their couch for a few weeks, but I knew it couldn't last. So I found a room for rent in one of those barely habitable apartments. Peeling paint, no hot water half the time, locks that didn't quite work. But it was mine. I worked anywhere that would take me. Fast food during the day, retail at night, babysitting on weekends. Some nights I barely slept. I ate ramen noodles and dollar store canned food for months. Every bus ride, every shift where my feet ached, I told myself, this is still better than being in that house. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, terrified I'd fail. Sometimes I worried my parents would find me. Once, my mom actually showed up at my friend's house looking for me, but I stayed hidden in the attic until she left. That was when I knew I could never go back. I made it through that first brutal year. I enrolled in community college because it was the cheapest option. I worked full-time while taking classes part-time. Some days I'd finish a closing shift at the store at 1 a.m. and then have an 8 a.m. class. I ran on coffee and stubbornness. There were setbacks. My car broke down, and I had to take 3 buses to get to class. One semester, I failed a math class and wanted to quit entirely. But I didn't. I thought about my dad laughing at me, saying I'd never make it. That anger fueled me. After 2 years, I transferred to a university on a scholarship. That was the turning point. I finally had professors who believed in me. I discovered I had a knack for business and tech, and I threw myself into it. I networked. I joined clubs. I took every internship I could get. After graduating, I landed an entry-level job at a startup. I was terrified on my first day, surrounded by people who seemed smarter, cooler, richer. But I worked harder than anyone. I stayed late, volunteered for projects, taught myself skills at home. Eventually, I got promoted. Still, something inside me wanted more than just working for someone else. I started building my own project on the side, a small software tool that helped small businesses organize their finances. I worked on it after hours, sleeping maybe 4 to 5 hours a night. 2 years later, I launched my company officially. At first, it was slow. I almost gave up a dozen times. But then one client turned into 10, then 100. Word spread. Investors got interested. Suddenly, the thing I built in my tiny apartment was generating real money. Fast forward to today, I own my house. I have employees who actually respect me. I've traveled to countries I used to only dream about. I don't worry about bills anymore. And sometimes when I'm driving my car or cooking in my kitchen, I just stop and think, I did this. Me, the girl they said would be nothing. And then, of course, they came back. About a year ago, I got an email from my mom. It was short and fake sweet. Hi, we miss you. Family is forever. Call us. I ignored it. Then more came. Do you even care about us? Your dad isn't doing well. We raised you, and you can't even check in? Finally, she dropped the act and got to the point. We know you're doing well now. You make so much money. It's time for you to give back to the people who raised you. I stared at that email for a long time. The people who raised me. As if what they did counts as raising. As if screaming at your kid until she cries herself to sleep is parenting. As if stealing her paychecks is support. I wrote back one sentence. You don't get to destroy my childhood and then expect me to pay you for it. That's when the storm hit. My phone blew up with calls and messages. My mom called me selfish, heartless, ungrateful. My dad, the same man who once told me I'd never be anything, texted me paragraphs about how I owe them for the roof they put over my head. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years started sending me Facebook messages saying I should forgive and forget because they're still your parents. One aunt even said, Don't you think it's time to let the past go? They're older now. They need you. No one asked about the nights I went hungry. No one asked about the bruises. No one asked about the years I spent rebuilding myself from the ground up. They just wanted money. At first, I felt guilty. That old voice in my head whispered, Maybe you are being selfish. But then I remembered all the times I begged them to just be kind to me, to listen, to treat me like I mattered, and they chose not to. So I blocked them. Every number, every email, every social media account. I told the relatives who messaged me that they're welcome to support my parents if they feel so strongly. But I'm done. And for the first time, I feel free. Truly free.